A lot of people are getting into cryptocurrency right now, and I'm not surprised. We're at all-time highs as the recording of this January 2nd, 2021, 11:37 p.m. Pacific. Bitcoin flashing us the 33333. I mean, that's more scary than I thought. But I think we have to recognize what's happening in the world, and nobody knows what's going to happen. No one knows where this is going to stop. But just looking back, the 2017 right here, January 2nd, price was 909. And then at the end of that year, topping out at 19,666. Those are interesting numbers for peaks. I think that, we could be in a moment of a peak right now. We could also see another $10,000 move all the way up to 42,000. I wouldn't be surprised if this thing keeps going. But at the same time, I also won't be surprised if there's a bit of a pullback, something that kind of pulls back down here into the $20,000 range. That would be very healthy. People have to realize that price does not just go up, and that these things do need to breathe. But, the institutional investment levels are irrefutable. I mean, the volume coming in is heavy. This is the weekly chart. So 3 weeks of solid volume, slightly lower this week than the last two. And, in the RSI, clearly in an overbought territory. I mean, we're in an RSI of 93, guys. I don't recommend buying Bitcoin at this price. If you were to enter, I'd look to enter at the 20,000, but no one can ever say what's the top, and no one can ever say if this thing's ever coming back. I mean, I don't think we're going to see sub $13,000 prices ever again. I think there's a lot of support at that level. And I think there's a lot of support now at the $20,000 level. I think we've completely shattered any sort of perception that Bitcoin should not be worth that much. A lot more people are starting to use the $100,000 mark and even $250,000 mark. But notably, after a big Bitcoin run, typically instigates a altcoin run, such as Ethereum. So Ethereum, last year, 2 years ago, it had a high of 1,400, currently sitting at 785. So, if it follows Bitcoin, we might be seeing prices of 2,400, 2,100 in the near term. That makes Ethereum a pretty good buy right now. I mean, it's in a pretty healthy uptrend. Nothing suggesting, it's going to pull back, but, Ethereum, some people have say it's overvalued. I'm not so sure that's the case given, what's going on. I think people understand that we're moving into a cryptographic world. It's simply more secure. Should we keep cash? Perhaps. But, people underestimate the devaluation of cash. People underestimate, what could happen in the future with inflation and such. We do know there is a finite 21 million Bitcoins, which gives that a very unique principle. Even gold and oil, we don't really know how much is out there. And that, gives us a bit of a confusion around supply. Demand and supply and demand, these are the core pillars of price. And if you didn't know, a lot of coins are moving off of the exchanges into cold wallets for long-term storage. So the demand is going up and the supply is going down when it comes to Bitcoin. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see 50K even in the next month. I just think there's been a huge shift in psychology. I think more people are waking up that this is real, and that last 20K run wasn't just a one-off. I think a lot of people got scared for a good 2 years, but after it came back over 10K with significant volume, I think that, people have to recognize that there is institutional investors moving in now. And so insurance companies, hedge funds, investment groups, trusts, so many different things are going to be buying Bitcoin largely. Let's just look at the 1 hour chart. Let's just look at today. Let's look at the price action of today. Really wild day, guys. Really wild day. Woke up to some massive price gains. So went to bed last night at a price point of about 29.8. It had not broken through 30K when I went to bed. And, here 8 to 10 hours later, we are at $33,073.59 with a lot of volume coming in. But never forget, every time someone buys, someone's also selling. So a lot of profit taking at this point. You can see a bit of a rounding here in the price action. Volume starting to drift off. This might be a good time to take profits for Bitcoin and move into, say, Ethereum or Link. But, do your own diligence, make your own decisions. This could go higher, guys. I kind of prophesized a blow off top, um, a complete euphoria up into the $40,000 range with a much stronger pullback, even 50% pullback. You have to understand that so many people FOMO, they fear of missing out, that this is going to 100K today. It's not. It will be at 100K in a year or two, but you've got to be patient. And in that time, it's going to go up and it's going to go down. And I don't think there's anything wrong with taking a bit of profits right now and look to buy back in the mid 20s or low 20s even. But hey, that may not happen. So, you have to be aware. And I think as long as you're in this for the 2 to 4 year sort of mindset and beyond, you're good. If you're looking to trade this today and this week and this month, I can't really tell you much about that. What we're dealing with here is a monumental culture shift, not only in technology and digital and remote capabilities. This is certainly a support system of that era, ideology, belief system, behavioral um, observations of how humans prefer to transact. They prefer one-click payments. They prefer digital payments. They prefer tap. It's just like, yes, there may be a lot of control issues with this stuff, but the bottom line is um, people like it, right? So got a lot of drawings on here. Let's actually not bother with the drawing. So that's Bitcoin. I mean, I think it's still a buy. You can happily buy some now, put it away, put it in a ledger, put it in a cold storage wallet for 2 years, come back and you'll double your money. I've already doubled my money. I told people to get into Bitcoin at 13K. Or was it right here? Right here on this volume here. Just clear sign to wake up and realize what's coming. That was right around when PayPal announced they're going to be introducing Bitcoin in their system. I let people know about that. So keep an eye on my Instagram and my Twitter. I sort of drop hints as to what I'm seeing in the markets. But hey, I'm not a financial advisor. But what I do have is sort of a good pulse on behavior, a pulse on early adoption. I use all these things. I own a cold wallet ledger. I trade coins. I invest in coins. I study coins. I listen to podcasts. That doesn't make me an expert by no means, but at least I'm on the pulse, and you mix that with the behavioral analysis of consumer behavior and when do people really ready for Bitcoin? Maybe that's today. Maybe that's this week. Maybe that's this year, 2021, Let's take a look at Link. I'm sure a lot of people want me to comment on Link. People know I'm a huge Link fan. And, obviously I haven't even commented on the carnage that was 10 days ago or so when we had that huge drop down to below $9 or $8. Unreal. It was like a flash crash based off the Ripple coin SEC issue. Ripple going to zero. Forget about that garbage. I sold my Ripple that day, got rid of it all. It's under investigation for securities fraud or some sort of securities bylaws or laws, whatever. But Link, there's still a big supply, right? There's like 1 billion tokens, and I think we're only 300 million out. So, there's going to be some distribution of coins from the Chainlink team to their partners, to the system, to node operators, whatnot. And people might be scared of that as manipulation, but you have to understand that if they were to do things in sort of a manipulative price way, they would be destroying their system. They have zero really incentive to do that. They have so much more to gain by legitimizing their token system and the rollout of the tokens and whatnot. But you cannot deny, since 2019, the volume increase, which you can see volume down here. Like, this is the most important thing, guys. Volume, price doesn't mean anything without volume. When people are moving in on volume, it means huge institutional investments. It means people who have billion-dollar funds, people who have $500 million funds, they're buying like 50 million at once. That's what's happening right now. That wasn't happening 3 years ago. People were too scared. And now it's dumb not to because of the US dollar inflation, because of the rise of cost of goods against the US dollar. People are worried, right? And so that's why crypto has seen gains. But Link is not a financial token in that sense. You don't buy Link because you want to spend it. Link is a utility token, and Link is going to power the oracles, the nodes, which create the enterprise data transmission into the blockchain and back. It's the abstraction layer that connects off-chain systems with on-chain systems. Every smart contract is likely to rely on Chainlink in the future. Smart contracts are the next iteration of what's interesting about blockchain. Everyone's going to prefer to have a smart contract. Imagine you had a contract for $10 million and someone breached. How would you know they could pay you? Chainlink is solving that problem. How do you get randomness into video games using the blockchain? Chainlink is solving that problem. How do you ensure that farmers get their payouts if there is a weather problem in their crop and buy insurance? Chainlink is going to run that. There's so many use cases that will be appearing in the next 5 years, and Chainlink is really likely to capitalize on so much of it. And people don't really understand how amazing the Chainlink system is and how value driven and value incentivized everyone is to make the system better. It is an open source system. And the best thing about an open source system is that everyone can use it, and everyone loves it because it's open. When you close systems, people get very frustrated. People lose money. People get locked out. People cannot adapt. Like, people don't integrate. And I think in the blockchain transparency driven world, we're going to have to really look more into the open source frameworks. And Sergey and the team at Chainlink has really seemingly done a lot of high quality work. Now, I'm not an expert at the engineering, but what I observe, and I observe other people and how they observe, and I look at sentiment, it seems very, very optimistic. Now, people might be wondering, why isn't Chainlink going up? Well, I think what's happening right now is like 80% of all tokens are only held by a very small amount. And I think that, people are selling it. They don't want to sell too fast, crash the price. You have to remember there is still a lot of manipulation in this stuff, but similarly minded to the stock market, price in crypto really goes up a lot in the long term. If you just look and you held on, will that maintain itself? I think it will, because I think we're in the early adoption phase of crypto currencies and blockchain and smart contracts. So, people predict Link to be at 50 by the end of 2021. I could definitely see that as a possibility, especially shaping up in this cup and handle breakout. This could also be a double bottom breakout, which would be even more bullish, most likely. The volume to me says very bullish. About this sort of last week, huge drop, it only lasted a few minutes. Everything dropped lots that day. And, that again is sort of that manipulation. People with the big money can sell off, and then people get scared. People have to close their positions. People who had a limit sell, they get closed, they get liquidated, and then someone can buy up. And I think actually it's very bullish. I think the fact that this dropped all the way to 7 and was immediately bought back up to the $11 range in the same day, I think it's so bullish. I just think that it was a bit of a manipulative move by whoever did it, but I'm feeling pretty good about it as a whole. We have this trend line just really looking strong for now. We're currently in a base. I think Chainlink, the fundamentals are there. I think you got to do your own research. But I mean, one of the powerful things about Chainlink is, let's say I want to offer an insurance contract. I'm going to have to put up the same money in Chainlink into the system as collateral to prove that I can pay that contract. And that's going to require all the tokens to rise in value to meet the needs of that collateral. And that's why some people predict Chainlink could actually be worth, $50,000 a coin. I mean, that might sound absurd when you're at a $12 level, but what we haven't discovered yet is what happens when the coins stop being mined, released. What happens when demand really dries up? What happens when the exchanges run out of coins and orders aren't getting filled? That's all bullish, unless it crashes the system. It just suggests that the demand is going to skyrocket, you know? And Bitcoin is one thing, right? Like just because, let's say you're Apple, right? Your Apple or your Tesla, like you're not going to buy gold just because you need gold. Like the reason you buy Chainlink is because the system is going to grow in value 1,000 fold as it becomes adopted. The people need the tokens to run the system, to run the oracles, to verify the data. And every piece of data is going to run through this. If you've seen the movie The Big Short, there's a scene where he's talking to the guy about, I guess, these swaps, these dark market swaps. And he's saying how much bigger the industry is than he realized, than he thought. And I think this is a similar situation. It's like, this is actually going to open up a lot of new financial opportunities. It seems that the big institutional investors, they love to buy these insurance driven swaps, and they like to gamble and they like to trade in this new world, because before you can only really trade stocks and bonds, but I believe now people are trading sort of derivative items out of these things. So it's like, the price of wheat goes up or down, but I'm going to bet you $10 billion it goes up. And then someone's going to bet me 500 million it goes down. And we're going to do all these like swaps and like trades of risk. And we're going to create all these fees. I mean, I don't know if that's really a good thing for the world, but I'm pretty interested in how Chainlink is going to swallow that market. So why can't Chainlink be replaced by another company? Why is Chainlink so certain? I mean, the reality is they have no competition. They're so far ahead and they're building the open source project. It's not like they're building closed and then someone else is building open to knock them out. When you start open and you're good at what you do in the development and engineering, I mean, you are just going to be really hard to take down. So I'm just really confident in Link. I'm personally holding, we'll just say over $25,000 of Link tokens, but I actually see it going up by 10 at least, like really soon, within 2 years. That's not financial advice. That's just my personal opinion on what's likely to happen based on the adoption rate. And given the move to remote work, remote culture, digital culture, I think these things are going to be more prevalent than you realize. And I think Chainlink is sort of the internet of the future. Not really the internet, but like the framework that runs society in the future. I see it as that. So, don't be afraid to put a little money in Link. I do think Link can come back down to the $9 and $8 range before it ascends. What happens in these big opportunities is they try to shake out people. They shake out what's called the weak hands, right? So let's say I bought in at 12, goes down to 11. They might try and drop it to 8. And now I'm like, wow, I lost 33% of my money. And whenever you lose 33%, you've got to go up by 50% just to get back where you were. So people are like, maybe I just got to get out of this trade. And so that's like how you shake out the weak hands. And I think what we saw last week was a huge shakeout. We could see another one. And, it's going to need some diamond hands if you're going to hold on tight and, be ready for when the rocket ship does come. I think what you have to understand is like, looking at Bitcoin today, you never know when that rocket is taking off. Like, look at that candle today, plus $4,000, 13%. Were you in today? I hope so. If you weren't, well, that's just it, right? Like, you have to be in the game to capture the value. I think that's all I want to say in this video. I mean, it's certainly an interesting day to be observing the 33K mark. I mean, like just what, 10 days ago, 14 days ago, what is it? 17 days ago, we were sub 20. 17 days ago, we were sub 20. Back on November 26th, we're at 17K. And I was saying that Black Friday, this is the deal. This is the Black Friday special right here. And looks like we were proven right. If you had bought Bitcoin on Black Friday, you would have basically doubled your money. So interesting times, my friends. Why do I focus on cryptocurrency as well as digital marketing? I mean, these are in the same world, right? These are in the digital world. Like, are you ready for 2030? Like, are you really preparing if you're not retiring in the next few years, like, are you really preparing for what's coming? Are you working hard enough? Are you saving enough money? Are you investing in the right things? Like, I know not all of you are banking too hard yet, but I can assure you that even when you start to save a little money, there is some question about, well, should I save it in US dollars or should I put it into Bitcoin? Because the US dollar is getting worse, less and less every month. And Bitcoin every year, it certainly seems like it's going up, except for a few years, but it mostly went up. People say it's going to keep going up. So whether you're rich or not, I mean, to not even think about putting 5 to 10% of your net worth into this is silly. It's silly. It means you aren't looking into the technology, and then combined with that, you don't have the foresight of how that will be working. And maybe that's not for everybody. You certainly have to have a unique mind to see what's coming. And I think that I would say that most people are underestimating this whole thing. And I think we're way early. Like, we're at the very tip still. Like, you don't even use Bitcoin to buy things yet. People are just realizing like it's a pretty good idea to put your money and store it here. It's safe here. Safe in quotes, because if you're a noob, you could lose your coins. You got to be careful. You have to be thoughtful. You have to know how to protect your coins, right? It's like you no longer have a bank doing that for you. So you need to learn the steps of managing a cold storage wallet. Okay, guys, thanks for watching this video. New year, maybe some new topics, but in the end, walking uphill, doing the hard work, becoming stronger, investing in skills, investing in ourselves, building our brand, building assets, selling online, selling assets, and converting that money into passive assets, into long-term assets, dividends, cryptocurrency, other businesses, but not letting your money just sit there in a fiat world where you really have no idea, right? And I don't know if you've heard this, but like 37% of all dollars that were printed ever were printed this year through the stimulus and through all this. And it's like, it's very dangerous to manage all of your economic problems with stimulus, right? It's like a short-term band-aid. And so I think a lot of people think, wow, the US dollar could see hyperinflation. The US dollar could crash. The US dollar could be no longer, the petrodollar. The US dollar could no longer be the number one currency. And a lot of people realize, like, in a more global world, it's good to have a single digital currency that is tamper proof and secure, like Bitcoin. And that's where we're going. And it's like all the rich people, they're going to be like, the fuck would I send you $10 million check for? I'll just send you in Bitcoin and we can know where that money is exactly, like no mistakes. That's what's going to happen. And so the demand to have those size of holdings, it's going to go up, right? And so Bitcoin today, what is the market cap at? Doesn't say here. 500 million, I think, though. 500 billion. We're heading to 1 trillion. So little less than a quarter of Apple, but certainly huge room to grow. I mean, we haven't even discussed like when everybody is using crypto payments, tap, crypto credit cards. Bitcoin is worth more than Visa now. You have to understand what is happening. This is a flip. This is the first flip. A lot more flips are coming. And one day, the ultimate flip, Link, will flip Bitcoin. Maybe 8 years, but Link is not worth nearly as much as the Bitcoin market cap right now. But one day, because Bitcoin only serves this one use case of storage of value, whereas Link will appreciate and it has hundreds of use cases and not only can be traded as a financial token, but mainly a utility token. And, it's going to serve us, the smart contract world, for decades to come. So that's my thought currently on the $33,000 Bitcoin price capture. We'll see what happens. Thanks, guys.